Hey there, and welcome to my channel. Today we are coloring a page in Worlds Within Worlds, and excuse me if I do not pronounce his name correctly. This book is by Kerby Rosanes. As you can see, I had some problems with the colors transferring over onto the monkey side from the cat coloring page that I completed previously when I was coloring a page on that side further in the book. I did have a page between them, just like a blank page to help protect it, but it didn't cover the entire page. My plan for this page was to make the building similar to the cat side, but I wanted to have like a way different background from that side. After I finished it, I would have done some things a little different with the background, but while I was working on it, it seemed like a good idea. And I also look at it as it's a coloring book, and I had fun doing this page, so it is what it is. It is definitely going to stand out compared to the other pages in this book that I've already colored, which is a good thing because I really liked how the monkey came out. It does look weird in the beginning, but just hang in there because I promise it gets better. The majority of the detail I wanted was in the monkey. I gave him a light base layer and then filled it in with different browns and red browns to give it depth. I also tried to use the colors from the face and the fur and in the tree trunks to tie everything together. I used a lot of light layers. The wax builds up and gives it a nice shine, like I burnished the page without putting a ton of pressure on the pencil. I did burnish the background right away because I knew I wouldn't be adding any more color than just the base layers. And before I forget to mention, the pencils I am using are Kalour brand. I like these pencils for most of the coloring I do. They have a huge range, which makes it easy to find what I want. This is all preference though. Some people like a softer pencil like a Prismacolor, while others like a firmer lead and prefer Derwent. I do have Prismacolor, and I use them every once in a while. And I've never used a Derwent. I've just heard that it's a firmer lead. With the Kalour, I find some of the lead to be soft, while others are more firm depending on the color itself. But I do like to use them because they layer really nicely. The face looks out of place right now because it looks darker than it should be. But once we start in with the fur, the face is actually way lighter than it looks now. What I like about these books are that the artist already gave you the areas of the page that should be darker and where it should be lighter. The different pen lines where he added his own shading without making it too dark or even black make it easy for the colored pencils to go over that area and still show where it's meant to be darker, where your shading should go. It helps to define where to add that darker shade without putting much thought into it, which is what I like, because if I'm in a coloring book, it's nice to zone out and just color. And the fact that it is a coloring book makes it an easy place to experiment, much like I do with the background at the end, without it ruining a piece of artwork that I've spent a ton of time on. With the base layer, I just put down a light layer and then go heavier in some places to preserve the color before adding others on top. You can already see how adding this base color to the monkey's fur has already made the face look much better. A lot of art, coloring or making your own, is a trust the process kind of thing. It may not look the way you want it to right away because it goes through an ugly phase. But if you push through that part, which believe me, it can be a discouraging thing, 90% of the time, it will turn out the way you were originally thinking it would. I took the most time on the monkey and the building since that was the main part of this coloring page, but I still wanted the majority of the focus to be on the monkey and specifically his face. So as I moved down the body, I left more of the colors flat and monotone, so you were drawn more to the face and the eyes of the monkey than you were the rest of the page. And here you can see that I forgot to do his foot while I was doing the face, the ear, the hand. So I did go back and show the process of that one more time. And then with the fur, I wanted it to be more of like a red hue. So I used a light reddish brown and just did the tips of most of the fur, couple of areas down the arm, and then a few spots on the leg. And then in the end, I end up going over that, not super hard. Again, all of these are soft layers. I ended up going over it with a darker brown, but the red still came through. And I wanted to mention here that if you're new to coloring, this does take a long time. Like if you're taking your time, especially with colored pencils, it's a slow medium. It takes a long time to create even a piece in a coloring book. This took me around 4 hours to complete. In this video, not only has things been cut out because it's a repetitive process, but it's also been sped up by 500%. So don't think that you're going to get into this and it's going to be a quick, easy thing. This took me multiple days. I know you can see the change in my sweaters. It took me like 2 days, multiple hour sessions to do this. But this is something that I really enjoy, especially with this coloring book and even the other ones. I think I have Mythmorphia and Fragile Worlds. I just love how the artist took away the thought process of, oh, this area should be darker. This is where the light's coming from. Because, again, he's using his own lines to show you the areas that should be darker. And then from there, it's just picking colors and running with it. And adding in these darker colors also starts to bring out more of the light colors. It's giving it the contrast that it needs. And I absolutely love how even just adding, this color isn't even black. I don't think I added black until I started working on the buildings, and that was for the darkest areas in the doors and the windows. This is actually just a dark brown, but it's giving it enough contrast to make it look really super dark. And like it's actual layered fur, which is something that it took me forever to learn how to achieve that effect. And also when you're coloring in a coloring book like this, if the animal does have fur, you should still color in the direction of the fur, even though the lines are already drawn in. You'll be able to tell if you didn't go in that direction from the pencil marks themselves. Now, the buildings, I didn't really care about the direction of the pencil. I wanted it to look more gold. And I remembered that with the cat on the other side, I did use a gold pencil. And I tried doing that again. And it didn't come out the way that I thought it would. But again, I went back over it with a brown and a yellow and then darkened up the doors and the windows. So there, gave it that stark contrast between this is the light of the building and this is the dark of the shadows. And this is the yellow that I used. I guess it's more of like a golden orange, and I used that for the shadows of the building, like on the actual formation itself. And then I tried adding in a little bit of black on this first face, and I didn't like it, so that was the last time that I actually used the black on the building. When it comes to the tree and the tree roots, I was somewhat careful not to go over with the gold because the gold in this package is a metallic, so it's kind of hard to go over it. But I wasn't overly worried about it because I was taking the darkest brown out of the monkey, and I knew that that was going to be my tree color, just to kind of, again, tie in between the face, the fur, and the trees. So that way the buildings really stood out on their own, the monkey stood out on his own, and then I went back through the trees and made them even darker with black, just to kind of give them some kind of depth. Then I also went back over them with the white to change the hue of the brown that I had put on there, just to give it, again, a little bit more detail. I also want to mention, before it pops up, the rocks that I didn't color this gold brown color. they're just going to pop up in color because I didn't realize that my camera battery had died. So, sorry you missed that process. It's literally just a light gray, and then I threw a couple of different dark grays, and then the black really softly over top of it. And then the color that you've seen me shading with on the rest of the building that looked like black, that was just a really dark brown because I didn't like the way the black was mixing with the gold. So, like I said, the only place I used it was that first face. Didn't like it, so I switched my tactic. And then with the trees, I went in and I colored it as dark as I could get it with my first round because I wasn't worried about burnishing the trees, just because the colors that I was putting over top of it were both Prismacolor. I use black and white Prismacolors in most of my color pages and my drawings because they're so soft. They go over most of everything. I did skip over the black, adding in the black on the trees, but here's the white. And the white's really nice because it just changes the hue of the color that's already there. So, and it also kind of mixes in the black together without making it muddy. And then with the trees, I wanted the leaves to be bright and cheery. So I went with a really bright color and then went back through with a darker green just to give it a little bit more depth. And as we're approaching the background, you will see those black marks from the cat side that are on there through the colors that I chose. There's not much that I could have did. I tried erasing them. They didn't come off. And I wanted this to be a light background because you could see like the birds and stuff in the background. And I didn't want to cover those up with black. And I think that would be the only way, was to like copy the same thing I did on the background on the other side to get it to be covered up. But I didn't want to do that. So those areas are just, they're going to look weird. I also wish I would have chose either a darker orange or a darker pink. But because I had already burnished those specific areas, there wasn't much color change that I could do. But in the end, it looks way different than the other side, and honestly way different than anything else that I've done in this book already. So I think that it really pushes the monkey forward. But if I could redo the background, I probably would. I would just do it the black, lose the birds, so that way it kind of flowed a little bit better between the two pages. But overall, I am happy with it. I'm going to show you the shine of the page after I get the background done. And then please let me know what you think in the description below. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.